and we're back. I'm Doug White, and it's the Security Weekly News, episode 344. Welcome to the week of 26 November 2023. We've got Chimera, Aliquippa, FNF, Lazarus, DARPA, Ransom payments, Namedrop, Google, Aaran Leyland, and more on this edition of the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. AI, accelerated cloud adoption, and hybrid work are fundamentally shifting how business gets done. The old way of securing your people, apps, and data doesn't work and scale anymore. To stay ahead, today's organizations need to reimagine their security and networking infrastructure with a cloud-first, unified SASE architecture. Join Palo Alto Networks and leading technologists from across the globe for SASE Converge 2023, a two-day virtual experience, November 15th and 16th. Revealing how SASE powered by advanced AI can drive better security and networking outcomes. Register today at securityweekly.com/Palo Alto. All right, welcome to Security Weekly News. I'm Doug White. Well, we're back. I hope you had a happy holiday arguing with great Aunt Marge about, the fact that you're going to hell for having tattoos or whatever kind of fun things you do for celebrating Thanksgiving if you're in the U.S. And if you weren't in the U.S., well, it was just another Thursday, and you probably didn't gain 20 kilos in 3 days from overeating sloth and lechery. I mean, I don't know. What do you do for Thanksgiving? It's whatever. All right. Well, everyone worries about infrastructure, and the Municipal Water Authority of Aliquippa, and I actually called somebody to ask how to say that because I like saying it, but I wasn't sure I was saying it right. Aliquippa. But Aliquippa's in Pennsylvania, and and we'll see how many times I typed that when I was writing the script, but it's the Municipal Water Authority of Aliquippa confirmed that someone managed to take control of a system associated with a booster station over the weekend. Now, a lot of the stories I saw about this were a little bit hyper, and they made a big deal about it, and it is a big deal, but at the same time, Aliquippa made it clear that there was no risk to the water supply, actually. Of course, that's what they always say, right? The Municipal Water Authority of Aliquippa provides water and sewer services to more than 6,600 customers in the state of Pennsylvania in the United States. The system that was compromised is a monitoring system that monitors and regulates water pressure for Raccoon Township and Potter Townships in western Pennsylvania. And western Pennsylvania is pretty rural. I have a bunch of ancestors from there, but if you go out there. But a group that was calling itself Cyber Avengers took credit for the attack and has been linked to the government of Iran. Yeah, those guys. The group targeted an industrial control system which was made by Unitronics, and this is why I put the story up, actually, because I don't really like all these hyperbole stories, but it was a Unitronics system, and Unitronics is an Israeli company. So the particular system they were targeting is called Unitronics Vision, which is a PLC, that's a programmable logic controller, has an integrated human-machine interface. This is fancy words that they use in the industrial control systems community. They have their own names for everything, but basically, a programmable logic controller is like, a computer, and an integrated human machine interface is like, an interface. Yeah, that kind of thing. But Cyber Avengers have claimed to have breached many other water treatment systems since the escalation of the Israel-Hamas conflict the escalation started back in October. Cyber Avengers have been known to exaggerate, and they have published fake data in the past where they claimed that they were publishing victim data, even though it turned out the data was just totally fake. So they are out there. According to Aliquippa, state and federal agencies are currently investigating the attack. There was no risk to the water supply, but it is a caution to everyone who's using Unitronics. You might want to, make sure that stuff is secured. Fidelity National, I've pronounced Aliquippa 19 times and I can't say Fidelity. Fidelity National Financial, which is a little tricky to say. Fidelity National Financial? Fidelity National Financial is a title insurance company, which is something, again, in the United States. I don't know if they have that elsewhere, but title insurance is what you have to have in order to purchase a home if you don't have a certain amount of down payment. But it's a title insurance company, and they've been experiencing service disruptions due to a cyber attack, and they say they have taken down multiple systems in order to contain that attack. The incident was mentioned in an 8K filing, so they didn't make a big deal about it. And an 8K is a claim or a filing that you do with the Securities and Exchange Commission called the SEC in the United States. And it basically is a required filing for certain events determined by the SEC. So they did do that. But per the filing, they said that an attack just before Thanksgiving impacted their title insurance, escrow, and other title-related services, mortgage transaction services, and technology to the real estate and mortgage industries. They did not get that very specific, but they did say that this happened. Now, Black Cat ransomware group had already claimed the responsibility for this attack with a lengthy screed where they were railing against Mandiant. Go read the screed. It's actually kind of funny. But they basically, apparently, Black Cat does not like Mandiant and was sort of the essence of it. The nature of the attack, they have not released. So they were not required, apparently, to tell people what happened exactly in the 8K filing. But Black Cat stated that they would reveal information stolen if FNF does not pay the ransom soon. So an interesting story. This week, it seems like our stories are all stuff that happened, but we don't actually know what, because this was a common thread in all the stories that I had today was that, something happened, we don't exactly know what. FNF has not said what it was. Black Cat did not say what they did to get in, but somehow they did. Lazarus Group, our old friends, is a well-known North Korean gang, and they've been around forever and ever. This is one of the earliest named groups I remember knowing the name of was Lazarus. I mean, in the modern age, there was a lot of old-time groups like, Cult of the Dead Cow and all those kind of things. But Lazarus Group has been around a long time, and they're a well-known North Korean gang that does all sorts of different stuff. But they have lately been conducting more supply chain attacks. And this latest one, they attached malware to a legitimate application installer for a product called Cyberlink, and this was released by Microsoft Threat Intelligence. The breach affected more than 100 devices in several different countries, including the U.S., Canada, Japan, and Taiwan. Now, Microsoft doesn't call them Lazarus for some reason. They call them Diamond Sleet, which really sounds more like a guy that comes in to shoot 9-ball on Thursday nights who may have starred in a couple of adult movies, but he could be making it all up too. But then again, with the name and everything. And in fact, I do think when I do get my big break and break into adult movies, and I know a lot of you want to see that, I'm going to use Lazarus Diamond Sleet as my adult movie star name in the future. I mean, buck naked is taken, so I'm going with Lazarus Diamond Sleet. But I did play nervous party goer number 2 in Party at Kitty and Studs, an obscure movie reference there. Anywho, this was the latest in an increasing and escalating number of supply chain attacks that have been linked to North Korea. A joint advisory from the UK National Cybersecurity Center and the South Korean National Intel Service said that North Korean state-linked threat groups are increasingly relying on supply chain attacks and that the attacks are growing in sophistication and volume. Now, this latest one targeted this multimedia software called Cyberlink. And what they did was they basically added a payload to the installer of the legitimate install software. And that particular payload then downloads and decrypts a second payload out of that install process. So it could, of course, install just about anything. The installer itself is called LambLoader and was hosted on a legit infrastructure owned by Cyberlink. And Microsoft said that a legitimate code signing certificate was used to create this installer and that certificate had been issued to Cyberlink and it was used to sign the malicious file. So this may be where they got hold of those keys and then used that to sign this particular document. Lazarus is well known for exfiltrating sensitive information to try to use for financial espionage, whatever. And of course, to me, supply chain attacks are the scariest kind of attacks because oftentimes there's just almost nothing you can do. I mean, if you don't know that something was compromised and that something is inside of something else, like say your car or your phone or whatever, it's not that you didn't have, good security hygiene. It's the fact that something was built into something else that was built into something else. And there's so many layers in these supply chains now between that original library, all the libraries attached to that library, and the final application code. It's really, really hard to tell what you're dealing with. So I think, we're getting towards a place where we're going to have to sandbox just about everything, because if you can't even go to a company's site and download a signed installer, and that signed installer is free from malware, that's really, really worrisome, and it makes me not want to ever install anything ever again. So I'm just going to have to live in, the past. I'm going to go install Windows 98 32-bit, and I'm going to use software from the 90s from now on. That's right. Maybe we'll even dress like the 90s. So you can get some shoulder pads and, that kind of stuff. It'll be fun. Well, for just about forever, they tell you not to negotiate with terrorists, don't install ductwork large enough for a grown man with a Zippo lighter to crawl through readily, and don't pay ransoms. I mean, they've been telling everybody that for years. I never have understood why they always install ductwork that's just, big enough for a large person to crawl through. It makes no sense. But regardless, they also tell you don't pay ransoms. And I've told many clients that in the past. But this particular article, which the headline's a little bit misleading, but it talks about when you maybe should pay up and when you shouldn't. And they mostly ended up in the don't pay camp. But I mean, I think you should probably never pay. But that is based on my assumption that you've lost something and you can recover it from backups and so forth. Now, then it turns into, I don't want this to get out. I don't want these pictures. I don't want this kind of stuff to be released. Now, despite the headline, the article doesn't seem to be recommending that you pay ransoms, only if you have no other options or you're desperate. Ransomware attacks are not reliable, and the people may simply ask you for more money if you pay up the first time. They may not give you the key. They may give you a key that doesn't work. They may just take your money and you'll never hear from them again. But they also may be threatening to cut off another one of Bunny Lebowski's toes. I mean, which in this case would be releasing sensitive data which shows that the company knew all about the flammability of their child Halloween costumes, and they went ahead and sold them anyway. I mean, I think that's where I learned the word flammable, from my Uncle Crispy brand Spider-Man costume I wore to the third grade mass ball. It had a big tag inside that says, "Do not get near open flame," as my uncle lit yet another cigarette with a Zippo lighter. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Anyway, I included this story not because I really thought it was an awesome story, but because I really think that this story could help you trigger a policy discussion that you may want to be having now if you haven't had it already. You need to sit down with your C-suite people and your legal and your HR and all these other people and think about what are the possible outcomes that we want to do if we get and when we get ransomware. And it has that add-on feature of we're going to release information, and it has the other add-on feature of we're going to notify your customers that your company sucks. And what are you going to do? Because you do need to have a set of protocols there, and when it's already happened, you don't need that added to your plate. You need a serious plan. What are we going to do? When are we going to pay? When are we not going to pay? And what are we going to do if we don't pay? So I would tell you, maybe glance over this story and use that as a springboard to get started talking about this seriously. Well, you know who you don't want to read about getting hacked? I never like to see a headline that says DARPA on it in a security journal. That always makes me nervous. Yeah, those guys, DARPA. Now, if you don't know what DARPA is, and I'm always surprised when people don't, but they don't. I'm being, ethnocentric, I guess. But DARPA stands for the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. And it's a super cool concept. It's basically the Skunk Works concept from old-timey kind of stuff. Take a bunch of weird scientists, give them a bunch of money, and see what they invent. Maybe give them some ideas, like this is something we might like to see. Now, they may turn out and invent Ice 9. If you don't know what that is, look up Ice 9 Kurt Vonnegut, and you'll understand. Or they may invent the internet, which DARPA is often credited with inventing. I mean, they invented packet switching networks, and so, they were trying to, avoid that whole nuclear holocaust thing. But they could invent something that looks like a P-38 can opener and actually can cause the sun to explode. You don't know what they're working on. Of course, that P38 can opener that causes the sun explode, that's classified. But anyway, there are claims now on the dark web saying that data from DARPA and General Electric, who is a longtime affiliate of DARPA, has been stolen, and that info is going to be up for sale. Now, a screen capture shows someone with the handle Intel Broker selling the credentials from GE. And DARPA, they're also selling DARPA-related military secrets, SQL files, and, of course, they went around and General Electric did confirm that the stolen data is there and that they are currently investigating this loss. Now, GE and DARPA have been working on cutting-edge research as long as I've been around, and of course, they're going to be a big target for their military and AI research secrets because they're working on all that stuff. I mean, if somewhere there's one of those dogs from Black Mirror, the metalhead dogs, it's probably at DARPA, and it's probably being trained to, do bad things or good things or just things. Who knows? But anyway, these attacks, beyond the loss of the plans to Rick's portal gun, may also result in credentials that are going to be used to compromise other federal entities using those stolen GE credentials. Now, Intel brokers conducted some high-profile attacks in the past and should be considered a serious threat, according to this article. So you may want to just think about that a little bit. Are there people that have worked for both of these entities, or warn your people if they get contacts from GE or DARPA employees offering them jobs or whatever? All that's going to be an issue, and it's being sold to the highest bidder probably, so you don't know who's going to be using it or for what. Apparently, some users of Google Drive have reported files mysteriously disappearing from the service with some claims that 6 or more months of their work have vanished. And this was another one of these stories that didn't have a lot of detail to it. It was just like something that seems to be going on. One of the people that was posting claimed that their drive looked like it was in May of 2023, but everything beyond that point was gone, like they just cut off there. Several other posts claimed that 6 months of material is gone on their drives. There was no clear answer as to what happened, but some users said that synchronization had stopped working, so their cloud side storage was just out of date. So maybe it hadn't updated in that period of time. And other people said that they could get some of the things they had lost back from cached files. But the advice there was to stop picking at this until the engineers found a solution, which is worrisome when your data's gone. A message that claimed to be from Google support, and when they said claimed to be, I was worried about it, but it said it claimed to be from Google support, said do not make any changes to the root data folder while the issue is being investigated. Okay, well, that's worrisome. But currently, there's not a lot of information about what this is, what has happened, or what will happen. It was all just a bunch of posts, which could, of course, be disinformation for that matter. But remember, the cloud is just another storage drive. It's no safer, it's no less safer, and, well, it's actually probably less safer than a local array. But, it's just out there. It's just another hard drive. So don't put all your bits in one bit bucket without a backup and an out-of-band backup of the backup, and maybe a backup of all that again, because, who knows what's going on out there. But there is a link in that article to, and they called it a reputed fix from a user at the end of the article with a caution that it may not work. So if you're experiencing this, you may want to be careful, but you probably want your stuff back too. And I did want to mention all these stories about Namedrop this week. So I've seen this repeatedly. I've seen it on X. I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen it in any number of news articles. So Namedrop is a new service that Apple added to their recent iPhone update. And what it does is it adds the ability to bring two iPhones close together. And they said it was about 3 centimeters. So understand, it's not very much, that much. And so you had to have them really close together, and it would allow them to exchange contact information. So this is the equivalent of handing someone a business card, I guess. But Apple kind of messed up here. They enabled this feature by default, and they didn't really tell anyone that they had done it. And this subsequently got a bunch of people all worked up. So cautions and warnings suddenly popped up from all over the place from various police agencies about the phones and the children, and oh no, oh no. Now, the first one I saw that I got a notification about made this sound very, very dangerous. Like, oh, I better get in here real quick. And I did go look, and yes, it was enabled. I had done the update, and I hadn't checked it yet. Now, I turn this stuff off. I mean, I turn off AirDrop. I turn off Namedrop unless I'm specifically using it. I leave all that stuff turned off. And it sounded worrisome until I looked into it a little more. Now, basically like AirDrop, which you should turn off as well, it allows you to trade info with someone else with an iPhone. Sounds dicey to start with, but when you read about it, it's actually pretty controlled. Basically, turn it off. You can turn it on again if you need to. If your kid has got an iPhone or you have an iPhone, just go turn it off. That's fine. If you meet someone and you want to exchange contact information, fine. Turn it on for a little bit and turn it back off. That's what I do with AirDrop. So I would tell you to turn this off for your kids, but you probably actually don't need to be stuffing all your iPhones into a Faraday bag to walk your kids to the bus stop. The feature can be restricted to just your contact list. It can be restricted to only send and you don't receive anything, or you can just turn it off. But it is on. So if you put that new update on your iPhone, this has been enabled. Now, again, it's 3 centimeters. So that means you got to be really, really close to somebody before they're going to be able to do anything, which I know. It doesn't mean that won't happen. You stand on the subway platform, there's somebody right next to you. Who knows? But, I usually take a quick look when they do an update and see if they've suddenly enabled something because they've done that in the past. But it really should be off by default, Apple. I really think that you should. You can check this under General and AirDrop, and there's an option there that says bringing devices together, and if you'll notice, that's probably turned on, and that's what this is. So you can make sure it's all off, or at very least set it to receiving off and contacts only. But I don't want to introduce a whole bunch of hyperbole to that, because fear-mongering is just a bad idea and gets everybody in trouble. Well, toss a coin to your witcher, oh Valley of Plenty, especially if your witcher is Aaran Leyland. Welcome, Aaran.
Hey, Dr. Doug. And then again, you talk about Ice Nine, and one of my favorite bands, Ice Nine Kills, is after Ice Nine. And, it's
a common cultural reference that traces back to Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. And
does that mean that when I walk into a room, it becomes all Ice Nine?
Well, in Cat's Cradle, what happened was this scientist, DARPA-esque scientist, basically was told they needed to invent something to keep the Marines out of the mud. And this guy invented a way to modify water so that it froze. And it didn't just freeze a little bit of water, it froze all the water, and it gets loose, of course. Sorry, spoiler, it gets loose and, of course, basically causes the end of the world when all the water on the whole planet freezes into Ice Nine. But, yeah, that name is used. Joe Satriani has a song called Ice Nine. There's a band called Ice Nine, and on and on and on. So it's a very, very common cultural reference.
There we go. As I walk into a room, it all goes Ice Nine. Okay, if you were wondering where Jason is today, I currently identify as Jason. So today I'm going to talk about the release of a new document called Guidelines for Secure AI System Development. The document in question, from the UK's National Cybersecurity Centre, NCSC to friends, provides comprehensive, according to them, guidelines for ensuring the security of AI systems across their entire development life cycle. It is aimed at providers of AI systems and other stakeholders like data scientists, developers, and managers. The guidelines emphasize the unique security vulnerabilities of AI systems. Doesn't really go into them, though, and stress the importance of security as a core requirement, just like everything we do then. So, in case you've been living under a rock, or a reminder for the rest of us, an artificial intelligence AI system refers to a complex combination of algorithms, data, and computing power designed to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. These systems are capable of learning, reasoning, problem-solving, perception, and language understanding. The components and functionalities of an AI system can vary greatly depending on its purpose and design, but generally they include the following elements: data. AI systems rely heavily on data for training and operation. This data can come in many forms, such as images, text, sound, or numerical data. The quality and quantity and variety, easy for me to say, of this data can significantly impact the performance of an AI system. Algorithms and models. At the heart of AI systems are algorithms. These range from simple decision trees and linear regressions to complex neural networks, as in deep learning, right? These algorithms are used to process data, learn from it, make predictions or decisions, and solve problems, if it all works. Computing power. AI systems often require substantial computational resources, especially for tasks like training large neural networks or processing large data sets. This is why advancements in hardware, such as GPUs and specialized AI processors, have been crucial in the recent acceleration of AI development. Software and programming languages. AI systems are built using various programming languages and software frameworks, like my favorite, Python, for instance, is a popular language for AI due to its simplicity, not when I was learning it, and wide availability of AI and machine learning libraries like TensorFlow and PyTorch. User interface. For interaction with users, AI systems may include user interfaces, which can range from simple text-based chat interfaces like chatbots to complex graphical interfaces, obviously depending on the application. Integration with other systems. Many AI systems are not standalone, but are integrated with other software systems and technologies. They can include databases, cloud computing platforms, Internet of Things, and just loads of stuff, right? AI systems can be designed for a wide range of applications, from simple tasks like sorting data to complex functions like autonomous driving, very complex, most normal people can't drive, medical diagnosis, financial analysis, and natural language processing, which we hear so much about recently. The development of AI systems involves interdisciplinary efforts encompassing fields like computer science, mathematics, psychology, neuroscience, data science, to name but a few. So very complicated. If you're at school now, that's what I would get into, to be honest. Coding and large language models. So back to where we were. The key areas of focus on the new document. The guidelines are broken down into 4 key areas within the AI system development lifecycle: secure design, secure development, secure deployment, and secure operation and maintenance. It doesn't say secure maintenance. I will go through each one in turn. Secure design. Risk and threat modeling. Understanding the risks associated with AI systems is crucial. The guidelines emphasize a thorough risk assessment, including the potential for adversarial attacks. I believe that in the AI context, threat modeling must evolve beyond traditional IT security paradigms, considering the unique ways AI can be exploited, such as through data poisoning or model evasion techniques, which Dr. Doug can tell you all about because we were talking about it last week before the show. Balancing design considerations. The guidelines advocate for a balanced approach to system and model design, taking into account security, functionality, and performance, and also ethical considerations. I think that this balanced approach ensures that AI systems are not only robust against threats, but also aligned with ethical and legal standards, obviously a growing concern in AI deployment that we hear about a lot. Secure development, obviously supply chain security, which Doug talks about a lot. The document highlights the importance of securing the supply chain, recognizing that vulnerabilities can be introduced at any stage. I believe that given the interconnected nature of AI development tools and libraries, which Doug talked about earlier, supply chain attacks pose a significant risk. Organizations need to implement rigorous vetting processes for third-party components, just like everywhere else in cyber and all your DLLs and all that sort of stuff. This is really big. Technical debt management. It focuses on managing technical debt, recognizing that shortcuts taken during development can lead to long-term security vulnerabilities. Obviously, the emphasis on technical debt is particularly relevant because of the fast pace of the AI development landscape. We're obviously a rush to market, and we see this with all the ChatGPTs coming out, can definitely overshadow security considerations. If you're interested in technical debt, read the Phoenix Project, great book, and the Unicorn Project, also good. Secure deployment, infrastructure protection. The guidelines call for robust protection of the infrastructure used in AI systems, emphasizing the need for strong access controls and segregation of sensitive data, as Doug talked about earlier, sandboxing the whole world. I believe that the protection of AI infrastructure is vital, especially considering the increasing sophistication of cyber attacks targeting AI models and their data sets. One of my favorites, incident management. Developing incident management processes for AI-specific security instances is highlighted as a key requirement. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Of course, the dynamic nature of AI systems demands a more nuanced approach to incident management, capable of responding to both traditional IT security incidents and those unique to AI systems. Okay, secure operation and maintenance, obviously monitoring and logging. The document stresses the importance of thorough monitoring and logging of AI system behavior and inputs. And as we'll all be aware in cybersecurity, effective logging and monitoring are essential. And I've absolutely broke my teleprompter type machine, but it's okay. We'll find it again. Are essential for the early detection of security breaches and for the understanding of behavior of AI systems in real world conditions. Update management, secure updates, regular updates, and this will reflect in the AI threats. And definitely update management in AI systems is complex, right? Because the potential impact of the updates on the actual system behavior, it requires a bit of a balanced approach there for stability. Okay, something that's been quite new to me recently, adversarial machine learning. The document introduces AML, adversarial machine learning, as a key concern addressing the exploitation of ML components. As I said, I found recently that AML is a rapidly evolving field, and security professionals should read into this and look at it. So, conclusions and implications. They say this is a comprehensive framework. The guidelines, they tell us, provide a comprehensive framework for securing AI systems across the life cycle. I think it's a good first step towards standardizing AI security practices. Definitely work needs to be done. Obviously, there's a lot of rapid evolution and AI and the related security threats. So it's going to need updated, it's going to grow, it's going to need revisions. I think that if you're involved in this in any way, you should view these guidelines as a good starting point, adapt, expand, look at new security practices and look to the horizon for it to evolve. But in summary, it provides a blueprint. It's a good place to start. There's going to be unique vulnerabilities. We need to look at, as we always say, a holistic lifecycle approach. So get reading, get understanding, and look to the future. And back to my favorite large language model in the studio, Dr. Doug.
Thank you, Comrade Aaron. I completely agree with all that. I think sci-fi is rapidly moving toward reality, but we also should look at old sci-fi because it also has a lot of, threats posted. I mean, HAL went crazy. That was a whole concept that Arthur C. Clarke came up with a long time before AI was any kind of remote, distant reality. But HAL was, basically deranged and depressed, or Marvin, whichever one you want to refer to, but Marvin was terminally depressed but did manage to wait 1 million years, so who knows. But all right, thank you, Aaron. And finally, a group with ties to the People's Republic of China spent 2 years inside a corporate network without being detected. The company was called NXP, which is a Netherlands-based chip manufacturer. Speaking of supply chain stuff, a Netherlands-based chip manufacturer who makes security-sensitive components that are found in smartphones, smart cards, anything smart, e-vehicles, you name it, that's where the chips are used. The group is tracked under the name Chimera, and it's also named Geo114, which does that spell something naughty upside down? I can't tell. I don't think so. I'll have to try that later. But these kids today and their slang talk. But anyway, according to a report from the Netherlands news outlet called NCR, the intrusion went on from late 2017 until the beginning of 2020. The breach was uncovered because the Chimera intruders were detected at a separate network that was connected, and they saw them there, and then they started looking, and they saw them again. Now, according to a report from Fox IT, which was called Abusing Cloud Services to Fly Under the Radar, Chimera, and this is how this originally got sort of put in profile, Chimera was using cloud services from Microsoft and Dropbox to receive stolen data from the networks of semiconductor makers. And in this report, they talked about a European one that was hit in fourth quarter 2017. Turned out, of course, they believe that was NXP. Now, NXP did not issue any kind of alerts to shareholders, but they did have a single sentence in their 2019 annual report about the event. Now, NXP is the second largest chip maker in Europe, and they're the 18th largest chip maker in the world based on market cap. And NXP said that the current report was dated and that the issue was addressed back in 2019 in reference to this annual report site. They said that a thorough investigation determined that the incident did not result in material adverse effect on our business. Somebody's been talking to corporate legal. It did not result in a material adverse effect on our business. It's still worrisome. I mean, this obviously would imply that nation states like China and North Korea and Iran are all targeting supply chain type approaches where they may be able to do this. Now, Chinese companies have often tried to do espionage and so forth as long as they've been around. I mean, I'm sure Mrs. Mao back in the day was going, go over there and steal the design for that. Come on. But did it make you want to go check your logs? It made me want to go check my logs, even though I'm not much of a target. But I really did want to go check my logs, and I actually did. But that's the news. Thanks, Aaron. We'll see you Friday on the Security Weekly News.